to the entertainment Talking Sports.
What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. Before I get started on the video, just want to give a quick shout out to one of my best subscribers, Demon. He actually presented me with the audio clip, and he's a member of mine as well. So Demon, man, thank you so much for being such a great supporter of the channel. But in this video, I kind of wanted to talk about the audio clip and take that Colin Cowherd had on the New York Giants after, of course, last night's performance. It's about a 2.5 minute audio clip that I kind of wanted to share with you guys if you haven't heard it yet. And it sounds eerily similar to me. Now, of course, Colin Cowherd, one thing I will say, he seems to flip-flop a lot, specifically on Daniel Jones. And I may not agree completely with his Daniel Jones take. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm still in a wait-and-see approach with Daniel Jones. But he went on into the year saying that he thinks Daniel Jones is going to be a great quarterback. Then by like week 3 or 4, he said that he's not going to be the guy. And now, in this, he kind of seems like he's at least partially back on the bandwagon, in which he said that he is 80% sure that Daniel Jones could be the quarterback going forward for the New York Giants to win this division. And he really likes the direction of this team. But I certainly agree with him on the aspect that he really likes the direction of this team. And you know what? I'm a fan at the end of the day. I try to be as objective as I can, but I really do believe that. You know, I try to give Gettleman credit where it's due. I do think that this team is headed down the right direction. Now, some people credit Judge more, whatever it may be. I don't care, and he missed on some picks. I'm not saying that. But the Giants, I think, are headed down the right path. I'm not telling you we don't have holes. We certainly do. We need a playmaker on both offense and defense, which Cowherd kind of goes on to talk about. And we may or may not need a quarterback. This offensive line needs to continue to evolve, but I strongly believe in Joe Judge, and I strongly believe in the evolution of this roster. I think the offensive line is definitely getting better from week 1 to week 8 with 3 rookies on this roster at that position with another year of experience on this coaching staff. If they could keep it intact, which you would think they'd be able to keep the majority of it intact. I don't see a lot of guys getting a job off a 3, 4, or 5 win season. We'll have to wait and see how the offseason plays out. The players should only become more accustomed to this scheme. And one thing I've consistently said since week 3, you can go back and look. After the New York Giants got completely obliterated against the San Francisco 49ers, I was looking at reasons for hope, and I thought about it, and I compared our situation to the Miami Dolphins from 2019. I talked about it again last night. I've talked about it several times. And I think the Giants situation is completely similar. You have 2 young head coaches with limited experience coming over from the New England Patriots, a ton of young players on the roster, limited expectations that year, and the Dolphins came out. They played horrible to start the year 0-7. They finished 5-11. I say it all the time. Colin Cowherd goes on to talk about it in this video, and he sounds exactly like me. So it's encouraging to hear paid professionals have the same exact take that I do, and I agree with it. I think there's reason for optimism. I think this team is fighting, and I think the thing that I am most optimistic about as a fan is Joe Judge. This team scraps and claws for him. I'm not telling you we're there yet. We're not even close, but I do think we're headed down the right path. But let's take a quick look at what Colin Cowherd had to say about the New York Giants situation.
That's the bad news. Now the good news. That was the best loss for the New York Giants in years. You're getting better every week. It looks like you have a coach who the players like and respond to. And Daniel Jones makes too many mistakes. But I'm about 80% sure you got a quarterback good enough to eventually win this division. This is a great loss. What you really are, you're the Miami Dolphins of last year. They started the year 0-7. Joy and I kept saying, they're a really good 0-7. They got crushed by Baltimore week 1. Every week it got better. You watch the Dolphins this year? Pretty good. They got the right coach. Cross your fingers on the quarterback. The Giants are well coached. The Giants play hard every week. The last 4 weeks, they have lost by 8-3, 1-2. Now, Daniel Jones makes too many mistakes. He makes about 3 mistakes a game. Can you get that down to 2? 2, you can win the NFC East, maybe even this year. 1, you have a chance to be a really good playoff team. And you're doing all of this without Saquon Barkley. But there's 2 things in the NFL you have to have. You don't have to be great at safety. You don't have to be great at wide receiver. Patriots won a lot of Super Bowls not being great at wide receiver. You don't have to have a dominating offensive line. You got to have a coach, and you got to have a quarterback in this league. And I said this last year with Brian Flores of the Dolphins, and I'll say it with Joe Judge. I think you got a coach. I think he works. I think the team responds to him. I think they play hard. When I watch the New York Giants play, mistakes beat them. But it's not incompetence. It's not lack of direction. It's not that you got the players are all going in different. I get the same effort from that team every week. I think they could have won 3 of their last 4 games. They don't have Saquon Barkley. He's their playmaker. They got to go get another playmaker or 2 on the outside. They got to get Saquon Barkley back. I think they could have one more great corner. But I would feel great this morning. Tampa Bay beat you. Tampa Bay should beat you. They got a better quarterback. They have a better roster. They're adding AB. And it was a classic look-ahead game for Tampa Bay where they got the Saints next week. I said it yesterday on the shows. I liked the New York Giants last night to cover. I thought it was your classic home dog. Biggest game of the year for the New York Giants. Felt huge. And for Tampa, they're looking ahead to the Saints. So I said yesterday, I thought this was a good bet on the New York Giants. So Buccaneer fans, you're going to be way better next week. You're going to roll the Saints. You'll feel great. But I wake up in New York this morning. If I'm a Giants fan, I'm like, that's as good a loss as we have had in years. You got the coach, and I'm 80% sure you got the quarterback. That's a great place to be in the NFL because you don't have to be perfect. With the salary cap, there are no 1975 Pittsburgh Steelers. That doesn't exist in the NFL. Your receivers, you need about one more. Keep building that O-line. Coach, quarterback, good enough. I'd feel great this morning. And I believe when they're focused, Tampa Bay is the first or second best team in the NFL. So you lost late to what I believe is a Super Bowl team and the best team in the NFC. Good.
So there you have it. I wanted to get that clip up there, and I agree with a lot of what he had to say, specifically the Miami Dolphins part. I do think that this team is building. I think this team is on a very similar timeline if they could get Daniel Jones to get his head on straight, and he's got 8 games to do it. And if he doesn't, well, that's when, we'll talk about in the offseason what the New York Giants will decide to do. Like Colin said, if he could cut the mistakes down from an average of 3 to 2 a game, we'd be winning some of these football games. If he cut it down to 1, we'd probably be a very good team. This offensive line is playing good. This defense is playing much better than initially anticipated. And he talks about the coaching. And I think last night you see it. You see the. Okay, I could talk about a number of individual plays. Like I pointed out in my post-game video, when you had the cornerbacks breaking up the balls, what did he do in the offseason? What did Joe Judge and the coaching staff do in the offseason with the tennis balls? They taught them not to make contact with the wide receivers and to make plays. You're seeing it pay off. They're fundamentally sound. You saw the great block by Nick Gates out on the play on the outside. I think it was the throw by Golden Tate. The New York Giants are a fundamentally sound football team, and they're going out there every single week, and they're giving you everything that they have. And it was the same thing for the Miami Dolphins last year. Miami Dolphins looked horrible. They were 0-7, but they were fighting. And by the end of the year, you started to see improvements, and it gave them hope going into this year. Like I said, we're not going to have the same assets that they did. They had 3 first-round picks because of all the trades that they were able to make. We don't have the talent on this roster to be able to trade away those players, to be able to get multiple first-round picks. And the deadline just passed today. So we certainly will not be getting another first-round pick. But the Giants, in my opinion, are not that far away from turning the corner. As far as the Daniel Jones goes with the 80%, I don't know what percent I am right now with Daniel Jones, but I do know I'm going to give him these final 8 games before I come to a final conclusion. I know a lot of Giants fans, rightfully so, they're very upset. Their hands are up in the air and they say we have to move on. I'm going to give him the 8 games because what other choice do we have as New York Giants fans? And I'm going to hope and pray that he gets better over these last 8 games. And if he doesn't, well, we'll cross that when we get to it. There's a number of quarterbacks that the New York Giants could potentially take this year. But regardless, looking outside of the quarterback position, we've got the coach. I am confident in saying that I think Joe Judge is going to be a very good head coach in the NFL. And in my opinion, nothing is more important than having a strong coach that could set a winning culture for a football team. Daniel Jones got to get his head on straight. He's got to learn his limitations. You can't be making throws that you're not capable of making. And he's got to learn that, and he's got to learn it fast. And that's going to be up to coaching to teach it to him. And he's got to pick up on it. And hopefully he does. But regardless, I agree with Cowherd when he says the New York Giants are in a much better place than they were this time last year, even though the record may not indicate it. The team's fighting, they're scrappy, and they've got a head coach that they're playing for. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.